Welcome back, listeners and viewers, to another week of Education, the Teachers Talking Terror podcast, where myself, Mike,
and myself, Courtney,
are back to cover another one. This was kind of a cult classic, late 80s, 1987. We're talking about The Stepfather, starring Jerry O'Quinn, who plays in Lost. He was a regular on the Lost television show. He's also showing up in the new Walking Dead spinoff that starts out this next weekend. So Jerry O'Quinn, the star of this movie. I remember seeing this quite a bit growing up as a kid. We had cable. I don't remember renting it, but I do remember catching it on TV quite a bit. And I just something about it. See, my parents are divorced and I have a stepdad. And I think nothing obviously related to this, but I think just that little bit of, this new person came into my life. And, at the time this movie came out, I didn't have a stepdad, but it's just a matter of this is a person that, do we really know him?
Exactly. Oh yeah.
So, but no, fun little movie, short movie, thankfully. It's clocks in just short of an hour and a half. And it kicks off with a bang. We see this very grisly looking gentleman, Henry. Mm-hmm. And you could tell he's got on fake beard and, fake. Yeah. It's pretty kind of corny looking a little bit, but he's in the bathroom and he's just trimming away at his very scruffy beard and takes a shower. Voila. Look at that. Jerry, he's not Jerry yet. I keep calling him Jerry because that's what he ends up being. But, Henry here turns out to be a new man.
Yeah.
Just a new man. He's well shaved. He's well dressed. He's got a tie on. It's early morning. He's getting ready to go to work. And as he's going downstairs, you see a bloody handprint on the wall. And when he gets to the foot of the stairs, they kind of pan back and it's just a massacre.
Yeah.
The living room is just full of carnage, just dead bodies, blood everywhere. Even in the foreground, there's a dead child on the floor. And he did it. Henry murdered this family and then got dressed and left and just walked away from it all.
Yeah, changed his identity by shaving his face and he's done.
Just walks away from the whole thing. And that's how this movie starts. Actually, it starts with one of my favorite things from 80s horror movies. And that is a all black background and red lettering for the titles and cast. I don't know what it is, but it's got some cheesy MIDI music and red font over the black background. And it just takes me back to my childhood. But that's this man just walks away from it. And so we fast forward a year, 1 year later. He's quite the charmer, this man.
Yeah, he's definitely got a silver tongue.
Yes. And he, I guess we see him get on a ferry boat. He's crossing the channel, whatever, kicks the suitcase into the ocean. We see it sink. You see that he's walking away from whatever that previous life is. He resurfaces a year later. He's now Jerry Blake. He's in Seattle and he's a real estate agent. And he's remarried within a year. So he's living with his wife, who's a widow, and their 15, 16-year-old daughter, which I'll get back to later on. I have some real issues with this. It's the 80s, so naturally she's played by a 21-year-old. Man, I had a real problem with this. You know what scene I'm talking about later on?
I think so, but I'll wait.
We'll get back to it. And so Jerry's, if we did not see that opening scene to set the tone on this man, you would think that this guy is just your typical stepfather that's trying to make inroads with his stepdaughter.
Yeah, because she's it's not that she dislikes him. She just is he's not my dad.
Yeah.
And we just kind of get that vibe, like she thinks he's almost trying too hard, kind of, and
Right.
he's a
Well,
little creepy.
yeah. And there's so many strikes in there already. Just the fact that it's like, one, he's not her dad. Two,
Right.
she's a 16-year-old girl. Like,
Mm-hmm.
they don't like anybody.
No.
There's just so many things built in that it's like,
Mm-hmm.
again, if we didn't see this like earlier scene, we would think, oh, this
Yeah.
poor guy, like
Yeah.
he's just trying because he's sweet.
He's
super sweet. He loves the mom. He's super sweet. Like he is a little like, you know, I don't know, like
he's a
maybe
little
it's
overbearing, kind
a
of.
little bit, but
like I'm the alpha, you know, like
right.
I am the father figure of this
but
house.
I think mom's kind of put him in that role a little bit. But he's trying to have a good relationship. She's seeing a psychiatrist, which makes sense considering, that, there's been trauma in her life with her dad passing away.
And she's got a lot of behavior issues. Like she is that kid that you do not want in your classroom. It's like, please don't put that one in my class.
I had a hard time accepting that as well, because I know this is a movie and I know they're acting and I know bad kids don't have a quote unquote look.
But she looks like the girl next door, in my opinion. Like,
she does.
You know what I mean? The brunette version of a girl next door.
She doesn't fit the profile of a troublemaker at school.
Mm-hmm.
When they're like, you've been suspended so many times, and it's like she just doesn't, because she's really not that way at home.
No.
She loves her mom. Like she and her mom, she comes home and she and her mom are playing, like they're throwing leaves at each other. Yeah. Like they're just, it's cute. You're like, what a cute relationship that she has with her mom. You wouldn't think that she's just total destruction at school.
Yeah.
So, whatever. I just think that's weak writing a little bit of like, if you're going to make her this like hardened kid, then she has to be that way all the time.
Yeah.
She's got to be angsty. She's got to be, she's just got to be like sad and depressed. It's like, she's not sad and depressed.
No, because she's getting, she shows no signs of that. No.
So, but whatever. But even her psychiatrist is like, maybe you should give him a chance.
Yeah. See, I didn't like the psychiatrist.
No, I didn't either.
That's where I was just like, he's creepy. If anyone in this movie is creepy, he's creepy. Yeah,
he definitely was creepy. But, he's also coming to the angle, I think, of like, you're a 16-year-old girl. Like, you need to lighten up. He's trying. Yeah. And he was. To be fair, Jerry was trying. Even if his intentions, obviously, as we find, were a little off. We do see him making an attempt to be fatherly.
Yes.
Which, again, that's something I'll admit I struggled with growing up with my stepdad, is I did not want to accept it.
Yeah.
Just, no. It's like, you might be married to your mom. And I wish in hindsight I could have handled it better. We have a much better relationship now that we did. But again, Jerry's just kind of moving in. Like, he's doing his thing. He's selling houses. He's befriending the community. He's just a very energetic, positive guy. Everybody seems to love him. They're having a party. We find slightly before this, that the brother, the very hunky brother of... which honestly I thought would come up a little bit more as like, oh, you're playing him up to be a love interest. Like, but he's got this 80s hunk all over him of the big broad chest and the chiseled jaw and the slight scruff. And, but basically he's like, wait a minute, he's on the police, or he's the brother of the wife that was killed at the beginning of the movie.
Yeah. He's the ex-brother-in-law.
And so he's just like, no, we can't let this go. Like, it's, where did he go? Where did Henry go? He had to have done it.
Yeah. So he runs an article.
Yeah.
Looking for the guy who killed his sister. And,
because it's only been a year. Like, it's still fresh enough.
Yes. And they're like all talking about it at this barbecue, and Jerry reads it and he's just like so disturbed and put out.
Oh yeah, he's like, really, which kind of it really surprised me. Like, not only, granted it was obviously fake the way he was reacting to it. Oh, that's terrible. But just how he outwardly showed that. Like, we obviously as viewers, we know the truth, but just how much he let it get to him.
Mm-hmm.
You figured he looked like somebody that would have a much better, just a much better showing
Yes.
of being able to control himself.
Yeah. So he heads down because he's so just like distraught over it. He heads to the basement and kind of just loses it. Like,
Yeah.
is just like, you were bad, you did a bad thing, like you were a bad girl, and is like throwing things. And
Yeah.
Stephanie, the stepdaughter, has come down at that time as well to
Yeah,
get
she
some
was
ice.
downstairs getting ice cream.
Yeah.
And he doesn't know she's there.
So she's getting this whole little private show of him off the deep end.
Oh, yeah,
and,
like far off the deep end.
Yeah, and he just, when he notices her, he just kind of is like, I was just getting it out. Like, how could someone do that to somebody, you know?
Like,
don't worry.
And it's just, there's so much pressure, too. Yeah. Like, I'm under so much pressure. Sometimes I just come down here and, you know, and it just blow off some steam.
Yeah.
You know, and it's like, again, we know the truth.
Yep.
And so we know that Stephanie and her mom, Susan, we know that they are like in the frying pan.
Yes.
Obviously they don't know. Stephanie, this is her first little like,
Yeah, because she now writes the newspaper and she's like, I think my stepfather is this guy.
Yeah, she
Can
jumped
I get
to that
a picture?
She jumped to that conclusion real quick.
Yes. And like her friend was even like, Stephanie, like, no.
Oh,
and
by the way, she's been expelled from school now.
Yeah, she's expelled.
Because she got in a fight in art class.
Yeah, and put some handprints on the teacher's back. And
and that's all that happens in Hollywood movies is the principal just decides to expel you.
Yeah, and she just walked on home.
Yeah, that's not how it works, ladies and gentlemen. There's a due process. There's basically like a trial. Like, no, one person doesn't just decide you're expelled. You can suspend them, but not expulsion.
And so a couple days later, mail shows up. Jerry gets the mail, realizes that Stephanie has something from this newspaper. So he looks and it's his photo.
It's his
like
face.
You can tell it's him.
Yeah, it's the like previous fake hair.
So
although it was real beard in the movie, but it was obviously fake.
So he heads to this local, I don't know, odds and ends store.
Yeah.
Gets a picture of someone else, sticks it in there. And woo, she, you know, like she's okay, whatever.
Yeah.
And she's totally, almost like disappointed. Like her friend's like, you seem disappointed that your stepdad's not the killer.
Right. But at the same time, it also like, it ripped off that Band-Aid, but then like applied a new one. Yeah. She realized, okay, it's not him. Okay, it's not him. Like now I can quit. I can maybe take some of the bricks down from my
wall. Dr. Bondurant.
Her psychiatrist has been
reaching out because he wants to like,
he wants to meet Jerry.
Yeah, extend an olive branch kind of out there, you know. Let's see what's so bad about him.
And of course, Jerry refuses.
So,
but he's a real estate agent.
Doctor does what, I mean, honestly, kind of smart. Not in this movie. But,
it doesn't work out for him, but
he goes ahead and makes an appointment to view a house.
Yeah, I'm very interested. I'd like to see this house, Jerry Blake. But as he's getting a tour of this home, he's very much like psychoanalyzing and conversing with Jerry, trying to get like putting feelers out just to get a sense of who he is. And at one point, Jerry even says, he goes, "Are you interested in this house? Or are you interested in me?"
Yeah.
Like, you know, like Jerry's a smart guy.
Yeah.
He really is. He's just like, I don't think that, you know, so Jerry's like thrown off. He is, I guess he assumes that he's like an undercover cop or something. And like when Bondurant's not looking, just beats him to death.
Yeah, with like some trim or something laying
Yeah,
around.
just beats this man to death.
Wraps him
Right
up
here in this for sale home
in daylight. Like,
in
this wasn't
day.
even an evening
No,
showing.
this was any. Thankfully, it wasn't an open house, but
Yeah.
but yeah. So Bondurant is no longer like rolls him up in carpet, puts him in the trunk of his car, sets the car on fire,
Yeah.
and then waits a day and tells Stephanie, "Oh, hey Stephanie, your psychiatrist died in a car accident."
Yeah.
Um, and that, I mean, it worked. Won Stephanie over.
And he's like, so let's bond over this
Yeah,
sad thing. And
yeah.
yeah.
And it's
But
like, so
it is
we
cut very short, though,
yeah,
because
we start to see, yeah, we definitely start to see Jerry and Stephanie making some inroads on getting along,
yes.
which of course is all mom ever wanted.
Mm-hmm.
And, but we also see, I get the Stephanie character bothers me. I don't mind her as a person, but as a character, she's so poorly written. Because again, don't forget, she's been expelled from school.
Yeah.
Because she's just so bad. But this boy has, like, he's got a huge crush on her. And it's like, I don't know, it's just so poorly written. So Paul, this boy who has got feelings for Stephanie, and Stephanie returns those feelings.
Mm-hmm.
They kind of go on a little date or whatever. And he walks her home, and they're standing on the front porch, and he kisses her.
Yeah,
and
like the most PG kiss, I feel
no
like.
kidding. It's like this is more tame than a church kiss.
Yeah.
Like,
and Jerry does not think that, though.
No, Jerry apparently thinks that Paul's trying to rape her.
Yeah, because he all but breaks down the door and is like yelling at her, like, get off. Yeah. And it's like, oh my goodness.
Yeah, Jerry went way. I mean, granted, Jerry has the tendency to go overboard, but he definitely went way overboard here on Paul.
Yeah.
Which Susan comes to the door and Stephanie's just like, just kiss me. Oh, he was trying to rape you.
Yeah.
Granted, obviously rape is terrible, but if Paul was trying to do that, he's doing it very, very slowly. Like,
exactly.
Like I'm pretty sure there would, by the time he got anywhere dangerous, either Stephanie would be asleep or she'd given consent. Like,
yeah.
And so Stephanie and Susan get into an argument. Paul obviously is out, like, out of here.
Paul's like, I gotta go.
And so Stephanie, because Susan's like, don't talk to him like that. He's your father.
Yeah, and this just kind of, which I did not grow up in a family where my parents were divorced, but I could imagine, like trying to put myself in those shoes, like, no, he's not.
It's tough. As a parent,
yeah, it's
hard because one thing that helped me get past, like, my parents' divorce, we're not going psychoanalytical here, was I finally just came to terms. I don't remember when, but it was longer ago than more recently. Come to terms with the fact that they're just human beings.
Right.
Yes, my parents were important human beings in my life, but they're just humans, and humans are capable of mistakes, and they will make mistakes.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's the whole forgive and forget kind of thing. It's hard to forget sometimes, but in a situation like this, even as a parent now, there's times where what comes out of my mouth is not necessarily what I wanted to come out of my mouth had I given it more thought. And I'd like to think that that's kind of where Susan's at here, is Susan knows Jerry is not the father of Stephanie, but don't talk to him that way. He's your father. Yes, of course, Stephanie's going to be like, no, he's not. And there's just the disconnect there of like, oh, like, Stephanie, your mom knows he's not your dad.
Yeah.
But he is your father figure. And it's like, it would be nice. I just have a feeling there would be so much less arguing and fighting if everybody just could accept that, maybe what came out of our mouth isn't 100% what we intended. So let's hear him out. Let's dialogue a bit and kind of come to a common ground. But Stephanie's 16, so I'm out of here.
Yeah, and she's very hot-headed, so she's gone.
This kicks Jerry's plan into action.
Yeah.
Jerry's decided, okay, it's time to go murder again.
Yep. So he quits
Granted,
his
we've
job.
already seen him murder. We've
Yeah.
already seen him kill the psychiatrist. But yeah, so
Yeah.
Jerry decides. Go ahead.
He quits his job and heads to another town with his new identity,
Mm-hmm.
and basically is just like baiting this new widow
Yeah.
that he's renting a house next to.
Yeah.
And all while getting ready to off Susan and Stephanie.
Yeah.
And Jim, who we mentioned before, the brother, finally finds out where Jerry is at.
Well, yeah, because he shows up. He shows up in the neighborhood.
Yes.
And he's talking to a guy, and he's like, "Oh yeah, that guy. He sold me my," because he's showing him that mugshot kind of thing. He's like, "Oh yeah, I know him. He sold me my house."
Yeah. And so Jim's just going door to door looking for Jerry, and when he gets to Susan's door, he's like, "No, I want to surprise him. Don't tell him I stopped by." So she calls the real estate office.
Yeah.
And this just like spirals downwards even more, because they're like, he quit days ago.
Yeah, he's been gone a little bit. Like, all news to her, because she's like, I watch him get up and go to work every day.
And he comes home, I mean, like mentioned in the beginning, he comes home at the same time every day. Like, he's putting up such a good front. And so she confronts him, and
it's my favorite part of the movie. It is. It's my absolute favorite part of the movie.
He's just so confused. Like,
yeah, she's called him out on it.
Yeah.
And so he, like you said, he gets confused. He gets confused, and he says a different name.
Yeah.
He calls her a different name.
Yeah.
And she's like, excuse me? And he turns away from her, because he's got the phone in his hand.
Uh-huh.
He turns away from her, and he kind of looks off into the distance, and it's so chilling when he just goes, "Who am I here?" Like,
yeah, and she's like,
he's
done Jerry.
He's done this so many times that he just can't even keep a story straight.
Mm-hmm.
So she, again, like, "You're Jerry." So he whips around and smashes her in the head with that phone. And that's a move you can't do today.
No, you can't.
Like, I'm sorry. Now, I don't want to get hit in the head by an iPhone.
Right, but
it's not going to hurt as much.
It'll probably break the iPhone before it, breaks your skull.
It's not going to hurt as much as using the phone receiver as a weapon.
And so she tumbles down the stairs to the basement.
Like, kicks her down the stairs, too.
And he's like, "All right, she's dead. Let's go get Stephanie." Because Stephanie has come home.
This is the part. This is where I was getting at earlier. It really, really bothers me. We've established the fact that Stephanie's 16. Mm-hmm. We say repeatedly, she's 16. She got kicked out of high school. She's 16. She's 16. She's 16. But yes, she's played by a 20-year-old actress. Whatever. But in an effort to make Stephanie look extremely vulnerable, we have her in the bathroom, and we show her strip all of her clothes off. She's standing there naked. We see the nudity on a supposedly 16-year-old character.
Yeah. I didn't even think of that.
And then she gets in the shower, and she's basically, it's like we're trying to make her the most vulnerable as possible.
Yes.
Like, she's in the shower naked. But it just really bugged me. I didn't think about it when I saw this movie as a kid, obviously, because I was a kid.
Yeah.
But when my wife and I are watching it, the other night, and I cut to that, I go, she's supposed to be 16. Mm-hmm. Why are you showing the boobs of a 16-year-old character?
Yeah.
Well, obviously because she's not 16, but still, it was uncomfortable to be like, you keep saying she's 16. You can't do this if you're establishing that your character is a teenager.
Correct. Like,
I don't care how old she is. You can't do it when you say it's Hollywood magic. You said she's 16, so your audience believes you. Mm-hmm. So then let's show her completely nude.
Yes. Yeah.
No,
exactly.
You can't do it. Do better, Hollywood. And it's like it's even grosser. It's like it's a male. director, and it's like, you didn't have to do that.
Right. You very well could have shown her taking, dropping the clothes, but then just being in the shower.
Yeah. Show her through the shower curtain. We know what she's doing. You don't have to show it.
Yeah.
So yeah, Jerry's going to go up. He's got this plan. I've already killed Susan. I got to go kill Stephanie so I can move on. Jim shows up
with a gun,
which is kind of fun because we've kind of secretly been establishing him as kind of the hero all along. He shows up, pulls a gun out, and Jerry stabs him dead before he gets a chance. So it's like, I enjoy it when movies do that, when they build up one character to be kind of the protagonist, the savior, and then evil dispatches them right away. Happened before when we watched The Shining. Mm-hmm. When Dick Halloran, come all the way back from Florida. We see this huge cross-country trek back to Colorado and up through the mountains of the Bobcat, et cetera, walks into the hotel, catches an axe to the chest, dead. It's like, oh, you poor guy. You made the trip across the country to die immediately. Yeah. And that's basically what happened to Jim. Just dies immediately.
He found Jerry after all of this work.
Yes.
Just to die.
Die immediately.
Didn't even get to be like, why'd you kill my sister?
Right. Yeah, no conversation. Just, you're dead now too.
Yeah.
So it's really built Jerry up to be this unstoppable force. We play quite a bit of cat and mouse. We get quite a bit of cat and mouse with Stephanie.
And he chases her up to the attic where she obviously knows the house better than he does. And he corners her, but just as he kind of gets to his next point, he falls through the attic.
Yeah, it's kind of rule. Now, we have an attic. We don't go up into it, but it's rule 101 that if you're walking in the attic, you stay on the cross beams.
Yes.
Because otherwise, the only thing that's left is the drywall.
Yeah.
Even though there's insulation there, you're going to fall right through it. Yeah. And that's what Jerry does.
And so Susan is not dead.
Yeah, she crawls her way from the basement.
Yeah, she treks up, but she does not make the long trek to die because she gets the gun from Jim and shoots Jerry as he's trying to attack Stephanie at the top of the stairs. And then Stephanie stabs Jerry after he's been shot a couple times.
Yeah.
And stabs him in the chest just to off him. And he utters, there's this faint, I love you.
Right.
As he's going down the stairs. And, That's
and that's and then
Stepfather.
That's the end of Jerry.
Yes,
and then obviously we fast forward a little bit of time here. Stephanie and Mom have recovered. Mm-hmm. They're back to being happy again, despite the fact that they're almost murdered in that house.
Yeah,
we're going to go ahead and stay here.
But they are going to cut down the birdhouse.
Jerry had put up a birdhouse, and they cut it down, which made me feel bad because I understand why you did it. But did you check to see if there were birds in that house?
Don't punish the birds. They didn't do anything
birds
to you.
Didn't do it. There are movies where the birds do that, but this isn't one of them. But they're having a good old time and they bond. And that's the end of The Stepfather. Did you know that there are 2 sequels to this movie?
I did not.
And a remake. Yep. The first one came out 5 years later. 2 years later, called, get ready, Stepfather 2.
Oh.
Still starring Terry O'Quinn as Jerry Blake. He survived.
Oh.
Yeah, and he's been institutionalized. And of course, escapes. I've not seen it, but I'd be curious to. And then Stepfather 3 came out in 1992 and is probably even worse. It's straight to video, I believe. Probably even worse than the... And Terry O'Quinn is not in that one. So you just have a generic Stepfather. And then they did remake The Stepfather. So, but yeah, that's The Stepfather from 1987. There was one movie list, one publication, I can't think of what it was, but they had dubbed this like the 22nd scariest movie of all time.
Wow.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, hey, in the real, like, in real life scheme of things, like,
Mm-hmm.
when you do, I mean, it is scary sometimes,
Mm-hmm.
especially a lot of people my age bring in, who are single parents, bring in a significant other a lot
Yes.
sooner than, a lot of people think is necessary.
Yes.
And it is scary. Like, you don't know someone.
Right. Like, are you, I mean, it's rebound stuff.
Mm-hmm.
It's like you're in this relationship because of the fear of being alone.
Yes.
And because of that, you're willing to make accommodations for traits that you really didn't like vet the person.
Right.
There's not a lot of times, it doesn't appear to be these, like, there's not like long courtships and dating. It's just like, I'm lonely. You're going to fill my void. Let's do this. And then you just see this constant repeat of bad relationship after bad relationship after bad relationship.
Yeah.
So when it does work out, it's wonderful, but it's not going to work out with Jerry Blake.
No.
What would you grade this movie?
I'm going to give this movie a... See, it's like right on the line between a B plus and A minus.
Okay.
Just because, like, it wasn't like... And I think because, again, like, I can't put myself in the shoes of my parents were divorced. I had
Right.
so it's like, oh, I know my dad would never do this. But, and I don't know. I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
I'd watch it again.
Okay. It's a fun movie. Like,
it is. Yes. It's quick paced.
It sets the tone really quickly with that, like, establishing scene of him leaving the first murder home.
Yes.
And it does. It's very quick paced. It doesn't jump all over the place. It's very minimal characters. We're around Jerry, Stephanie, and Susan enough that I feel like we really get to know who they are.
Yeah.
And then culminates in how it ends. I'm gonna go a B for it, only because you can't show nudity of a 16-year-old character. As a child of the 80s, I am definitely used to nudity in a horror film. I mean, it's just I mean, there's just an in joke that if you got a horror film from the 80s, you're gonna have boobs in it. But you can't do it with a character who you say is 16.
Yeah.
I don't care if she's 20.
Right.
I mean, and I don't care if she's got a 20-year-old's body, because clearly she does. There are some instances where you could get like a real, petite,
right, yes,
20-year-old to look younger, and that's even still wrong. But it's like you keep talking about how she's 20, and then we see a scene. I guess it's also just kind of gross where, like, that scene with Paul. That's the first romantic anything we've seen of her.
Yeah.
And it was just a small kiss. But then later on, the director shows a full nude body to us.
Yeah. Like,
I don't like her. I don't like Stephanie. Paul likes Stephanie. Paul didn't even get to see what we saw.
Yeah.
It's just, so a B for me. I like the movie more than a B, but that's a huge knock for me. Huge knock for me. So, all right. I know I keep railing on about that, but it's just...
That's okay. Hey.
It's wrong. Can't do that.
If it's something that bothers you, it bothers you. So...
Yeah. So... your pick.
Yeah, it is. And I'm going to pick a movie that is extremely controversial.
Oh,
controversial.
What do we got?
Okay. But I'm going to pick the newer one, not the 1978 one.
Okay.
The 2010 one.
Okay.
I Spit on Your Grave.
Ooh.
And only because, like, I know some people that are like, I can't even watch that movie. Like, that movie's disgusting. I've looked up just like little TikToks about it, and it's like I've not seen any spoilers, but it's all like, this movie is very disturbing to watch.
The original is. The original.
Should we go with the original?
It's if you're looking for a controversial, it would be the original.
Okay, let's go with the original.
Okay,
if we can find it streaming, let's go with the original. And then as I'm watching a TV show, because I knew it was my week to pick, but I just didn't know what movie I was going to pick. This lady walks out and she says to the old man, she's like, "I'm spit on your grave." And I was like,
there it is.
Okay, I think that's what I'm going to pick. So I just
Yeah, the original "I Spit on Your Grave" from 1978 also could be known as its other title, "Day of the Woman."
yes.
A big reason why this movie is so controversial is because you could easily view it as woman hating, but also extremely feminist.
Okay.
I've seen this movie once, and I remember I was probably I was way too young to have watched it, but um, it really I could definitely see both sides of it because the amount of violence in like impacted upon this woman is just like to catch it on film. It's like, oh man, it's rough,
Yeah.
rough. However, the comeuppance that
Yeah.
I'm not ruining anything here because good lord, the movie's almost 50 years old.
Yeah, exactly.
Um, but
And it's labeled like rape and revenge horror.
yes,
So it's
yes,
like
yeah,
I
you're
know
not gonna add like, oh, I want to watch a good
right.
ghost movie. No,
Yeah.
but no, it definitely does have a stink to it.
Okay.
But again, I could easily see is like, the alternate title is Day of the Woman.
Yeah.
Like, you can catch this streaming, Roku, Tubi, Redbox, Pluto, Plex, the original streaming on all those for free. And so I'm assuming I know that there's an unrated version, but it really doesn't matter. Like
Yeah.
even the rated version is awful, very awful. And so yeah, they did remake it in 2010, like you said, and they've spun off like 2 or 3 sequels of that movie. But
That's what
yeah,
I've read. But yeah, I
I
could see, 2010, they probably made things a little less harsh. And I'm not saying I'm
they
looking for
did.
all the harsh,
Right.
but
No, I know what
yeah,
you mean.
we'll go
Yeah.
with
Well, I feel in some ways it's different if we stumbled across it, but it's one of those
yes.
where check out the original to see why they remade it. Like,
Yeah.
there's a lot of movies, like even The Stepfather. We could have watched the remake, but there's a reason why you remade the film.
Yeah.
If either it's been like underrated or it's a cult classic or something like that, where it's like, you know what, we could take this story and do it again.
Mm-hmm.
I Spit on Your Grave was one of those for sure. Written and directed by the same guy. It's a rough watch.
Okay.
But like you said, you went with controversial, so there you go.
Yeah.
Here, I'm the one that's getting all riled up about a 16-year-old character.
Yeah, and here I'm like, let's
like,
bring in more controversy.
Yeah, it's like, let's go ahead and watch a rape revenge film. I have a feeling this will be one I watch without my wife. I don't think it would be very comfortable.
Yeah,
a comfortable watch, but I'll leave it up to her. So, yeah, it's really the reason why it is got such a stigma. Because obviously, rape and revenge, the rape has to happen first.
Mm-hmm.
The movie's like 102 minutes long, and the rape scene's like a half hour.
Okay.
So it's just like nonstop, and it's like, it's one thing you're like, oh, this is happening. We cut away.
Right. Yeah. It's 30 seconds, if that.
Just, we set the precedent of like, oh, okay. And then the director cuts away because you're like, nobody wants to watch that.
Mm-hmm.
This movie's like half hour.
Yeah.
And it's like,
and I think like, because, Speak No Evil, like that still sits with me sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
The ending, the stoning part,
mm-hmm.
like that, because it was just so disturbing
and so simple.
Yes. And so I'm like, let's go with something that I know gets a lot of,
right.
I mean, and there's a reason people don't like to watch it because it's uncomfortable and that's scary. So let's try it.
But yeah, it's free on streaming, several different platforms, like I mentioned. And I think it's important to remind everyone, this is your pick. As the female of the duo, I did not pick this. You picked this. So,
I am picking this one.
So if people come at us in the comments, remember, Courtney picked this movie. If you're like, oh my God, I can't believe you watched that.
And you have said before, like, because it's come up that it is very, just disturbing to watch. So you've gave me all of the, the, hey, just an FYI, it's very disturbing, but
the plot's pretty simple.
But here I am.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, a movie like this, the plot's pretty simple. Woman's raped, gets her revenge.
Yeah.
Like, but obviously there's more details to said plot. But yeah, that's the movie. That's the movie. So, all right. Well, that wraps up the Stepfather episode. And
Yes.
we will be back next week to cover the original I Spit on Your Grave, 1978. Social media wise, you can find us Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. You can also check us out on Letterboxd. Because I have not yet written or transcribed any of our reviews over from there, but that is okay. All they're going to be is the grades anyway.
Yes.
So, but we keep a nice list there. So if you're curious, what did they cover in October? You can go check it out. Go see what's going over there. You got anything before we go?
Nope. Just have a good week and get out and enjoy this beautiful weather, please.
Yeah. Well, depending on where you live, of course. Some people are, we might have listeners from Alaska, but no, it's pretty nice here in central United States around this time. So we're going to go do that. So, all right. Well, for another episode of Deducation, I'm Mike.
And I'm Courtney.
And we'll see you guys next week.
Bye.